So finally back from my trip to Arizona, we are ready to get back on the grind of making videos. So I figured let's get it started with something that was being tagged in a lot this weekend. And no, it doesn't have to deal with the Astros or Rob Manfred. We'll talk about that a little bit later this week. But MLB Network has been releasing their top 10 players at every single position right now. And as you know, on this channel, I like to do a lot of rankings myself. I did my top players at every position. I reacted to your rankings. I reacted to Buster Olney's. Well, today I'm going to be reacting to MLB Network's. Now, they also did a top 100 player ranking. So if you guys do want to see me react to their top 100 player list, make sure to leave a like on it. If we can hit 3,000 likes on this video, I will definitely bring that to you later on this week. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new and you enjoy the content. If you love baseball, click that sub button, join the team. Remember to get in the comment section down below. Give me your thoughts and opinions on MLB Network's rankings. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Am I crazy? Let me know your thoughts down below. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description. Always talking baseball over there. And if you want to buy any tickets to any sporting events, make sure to head on over to SeatGeek. Use the code Giraffe. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase. So I'm on MLB.com. I found the article that gives you the top 10 at every single position. If you want to look at it yourself, link will be in the description. It's a little all over the place with how they went order-wise. It's starting off with third base doesn't really make a lot of sense, but we're just going to go from top to bottom here and see how I think about each ranking. So for third base, they've got Alex Bregman 1, Rendon 2, Arenado 3, Chapman 4, McNeil 5, Donaldson 6, Turner 7, Suarez 8, Ramirez 9, and Machado 10. Bregman at 1, I mean, I can see the argument. I had him at number 2, but I don't think he's the number 1 guy. I still think that crown goes to Nolan Arenado, who has not shown any signs of slowing down recently. Elite defense at third base, elite bat, don't care about the Coors effect. The dude is going to be a stud no matter where he plays. I think to put him not only not at 1, but not at 2 is a little bit crazy. As much as I love Anthony Rendon, I think it's obvious he is the third best third baseman in Major League Baseball. So the top 3 is technically right. They're all in the same scenario or the same area, but they just got the order a little bit mixed up in my opinion. Arenado's got to be 1. Matt Chapman at 4, I don't disagree with. Yes, I didn't have him at number 4 in my video, but I think to have him at 4 is not a ridiculous statement at all. Again, he's almost Nolan Arenado light, and he's pretty young. He's coming up. He's going to be fantastic. I'm excited to see what that guy's going to do in 2020. Here's probably the biggest problem I have with this list, and that's going to be Jeff McNeil as the number 5 third baseman in all of baseball. Now, don't get me wrong, as a huge Mets fan, we know that I love Jeff McNeil a lot on the team. He is unbelievable. I think he's so valuable. One of the best leadoff hitters in the game. I think he's massively underrated by most fans in baseball, but to have him as the 5th best third baseman in Major League Baseball is just absolutely crazy to me, especially considering he really didn't play much of third base last year, and while he is pegged to be the Mets third baseman in 2020, I just don't think he's number 5 on this list, but I just don't think he's better than guys like Josh Donaldson, like Manny Machado, even Eugenio Suarez or Justin Turner. All those guys are really, really solid third basemen. I don't know if Jeff McNeil goes ahead of him, and now that I think about it, there's a guy that was left off this list who I know I'm a little bit harsh on, but he's clearly a top 10 third baseman. That's Chris Bryant. Where's Chris Bryant on this list? I know he's had some down years per se, and he may not be living up to that MVP hype that he once had, but Chris Bryant is without a doubt a top 10 third baseman in the game. I mean, if you don't have him in your top 10 rankings, I don't know what game you're watching. He's super talented. How is he not in the top 10? McNeil's in the top 10. Chris Bryant definitely needs to be in the top 10. Who's making these lists? We are off to a crazy start right now. Relief pitchers, that's got to be one of the more difficult positions to rank just because it kind of changes year to year. They're so volatile. Yates 1, Chapman 2, Hader 3, Hendricks 4, Presley 5, Workman 6, Lugo 7, Ottavino 8, Rogers 9, and Will Smith 10. Yates, Chapman, Hader, that was my top 3 again, just a little bit out of order. I think Josh Hader is the number 1 reliever in all of baseball. You just take his stuff, you take that he's left-handed. I don't know how a lot of people hit him. Kirby Yates, though, at number 1 is not crazy. Based on his numbers the last 2 years, you can make a very strong case that he's the number 1 reliever in baseball, so I don't mind this one bit. 5, though, Ryan Presley. I don't like this pick a lot. Honestly, I'd go with Roberto Osuna over him. I think he's the better reliever on that team. Now, yes, as a person, he stinks, but as a player, he's very talented, and I think what he's done track record-wise since being with the Blue Jays the last 4 or 5 years, you got to put Osuna at least in this top 10, which he's not even showing up on. Workman had a gross year with the Red Sox. I don't mind him being inside the top 10, although we've seen one good season out of him, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. Same thing with Seth Lugo. I think Seth Lugo's fantastic, but I have him hovering right around outside that top 10 list normally. Ottavino's gross, but then again, I probably would put Zach Britton ahead of him. Taylor Rogers, I don't agree with. Great season, but he's not a top 10 reliever in the game. And then I'm glad that Will Smith made it because I think he's one of the most underrated relievers in the game. That's a huge pickup for the Braves. He's going to be massive to that team's success. One of the best left-handed relievers in the game. I love that he's in here. I actually think he should be ahead of a lot of these guys on this list, but at least he got in the top 10 because I feel like a lot of people forget about him, and you can't forget about Will Smith. He's too good. Shortstop, yeah, this is interesting because Francisco Lindor is somehow not number 1, but you have Trevor Story. So you're going to have Trevor Story who plays in Coors, but not Nolan Arenado. That doesn't make any sense to me. Nolan Arenado is clearly the top third baseman. Story is clearly not the top shortstop, and you put him at number 1. Doesn't make any sense to me. Lindor has to be number 1. That's the only person you can put there. You can put Story at 2. I've got no problem with that. I agree. But 1, wrong. It's Lindor. That's it. You then got Javi Baez, Marcus Semien, Xander Bogaerts, Tatis, Gleyber Torres, Polanco, Correa, and DeYoung. So I think Semien being ahead of Bogaerts, again, based off the track record that we've seen with Xander Xander Bogaerts, yes, defensively, he's not as good as Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien had a great glove last year. But Marcus Semien also hadn't hit like he had until last year. I think you got to put Bogaerts ahead of him, still give him the nod there. But again, relatively in the same area. Love that Tatis gets in the top 10. Recognize this guy's a top 10 shortstop. San Diego Padres, please don't pull a New York Mets and make this guy an outfielder. Let him be a shortstop. He is fantastic. Yes, he had a ton of errors. Most of them are throwing. He will fix that. Glaber definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Jorge Polanco's kind of right on that borderline for me, and same thing with Paul DeJong. I don't think they're guaranteed top 10 guys. But the biggest problem with this list, where's Trey Turner? How is Trey Turner not a top 10 shortstop in the game? Steals bases, gets on base, hits for average, has pretty good power, has a nice glove at shortstop. Trey Turner has to be in the top 10 on this list. Check their record with him and check their record without him. Oh, that's right. They do significantly better when he's on the field because there's a reason. He's that good. A little sketchy here. For starting pitchers, I love what I'm seeing at the start because that's my guy Jacob deGrom at number 1. He is definitely the number 1 starting pitcher in the game. You can't argue it. Back-to-back Cy Young awards. His numbers are disgusting. He's been the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 seasons. How could he not be number 1? So at least they got that right. Now, there's definitely going to be some debate here between Verlander and Cole, but I do think that Verlander right now gets the nod over Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is absolutely fantastic. Like, this top 3, honestly, this top 4, crazy good. Like, how many times do you have 4 legitimate Cy Young Award winners every single time in the top 4? But I think Verlander just slightly gets the nod over Cole. I mean, they won the Cy Young last year, finished better than him the year before. You got to give it to him. Cole at 3, I definitely agree with. Scherzer at 4 again. Like, that top 4, that's exactly what I had for mine, so I agree with it big time. Hyunjin Ryu at 5, I disagree with. I don't think so at all. I think it's tough to put a guy who only made like 29 starts and had his best season ever in the top 5. Like, yes, he was a top 5 pitcher in baseball last year, but I don't think that necessarily correlates into him being a top 5 pitcher this year. Same thing with Zach Greinke. I think Zach Greinke's a little bit high at 6. Jack Flaherty at number 7, getting some love. He was unbelievable in the second half for the Cardinals, and I think he's going to continue that in 2020. Corbin 8. I have a problem here because where's Steven Strasburg? How is Steven Strasburg not on this list at all, let alone ahead of Patrick Corbin, who's the 3rd best pitcher on that team? Clevenger at 9. I have no problem with Walker Buehler at 10. I'm fine with that as well. I would have liked to see Clayton Kershaw on here. He still got Cy Young votes. He still had an ERA hovering around 3. If that's his worst, oh my God, sign me up. Overall, though, starting pitchers, pretty good list. Just where's Steven Strasburg? How do you not include him in your top 10 starting pitchers right now? That doesn't make any sense. Now we got the catcher list, and they went the opposite direction as me. They went with Yasmani Grandal at number 1 instead of JT Realmuto. Now, while I don't agree with that ranking, I don't think it's crazy because this is kind of the conversation, the debate that everyone has in Major League Baseball right now. Do you go with Grandal? Do you go with Realmuto at number 1? For me, it's Realmuto. The dude's a freak athlete, plays catcher at an elite level, great defensively, great at the plate, and then the athleticism is what takes me to the next level with Realmuto, which is why I put him at 1 and Grandal at 2. Wilson Contreras 3, thank you, that's the right guy at number 3. Number 4, Mitch Garver. I don't think you put him ahead of Gary Sanchez. I know I give Gary a lot of crap because he's terrible defensively, but even as bad as he is defensively, his bat completely carries his play, and it almost makes it not matter because the dude's gonna hit 30 plus homers a year, driving 100 RBIs. He's one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. I don't think you can put Mitch Garver, who had basically 300 at bats last year, ahead of Gary Sanchez just yet. Wilson Ramos 6. I love it because obviously he's on the Mets, but that's a little bit high as well. I wouldn't put Wilson Ramos at 6. Definitely top 10, but defensively he's pretty atrocious. And at the plate, as much as I like him, there are guys that do similar stuff to him. 7, Robinson Chirinos. No, not top 10. 8, Buster Posey. No, not top 10. Maybe number 10 at the highest. Yadier Molina, definitely not top 10. Number 9's way too high. Omar Narvaez at 10, right area. But that Chirinos, Posey, Molina area, like, I just don't know what we're doing. We're doing top 10 right now, and you've shown that with some of these other positions on how you've ranked players. Why are Yadier Molina, Buster Posey, and Chirinos involved in there? They're clearly not top 10 players right now. Buster Posey's hit like 12 home runs the last 2 years combined. Yadier Molina is a shell of the player he once was. I mean, even defensively, he's dropping off. If you wanted to do right now, you'd throw Carson Kelly in there, who definitely deserves to be in the conversation. You'd throw James McCann, who, yes, he's not going to be a catcher, but that's his position, and they're not ranking DHs because I've seen this list before. You've got some DHs ranked in here, so we'll talk about that when we get there. I think even a guy like Kurt Suzuki could get some love. I think Salvador Perez deserves to get some love. Molina, Chirinos, and Posey? No, those guys aren't my guys. Second base, so they went with Ketel Marte at number 1, which I disagree with, but in my original rankings, I had Ketel Marte in center field, so there's a little bit of discrepancy here. I have Jose Altuve at number 1. Yes, I know, the whole Astros cheating thing. Yeah, we know what happened. But Altuve is still number 1 in my eyes. DJ LeMahieu's definitely number 2. I agree with that. I probably would have put Ketel Marte at either 3 or 4 between him and Ozzy Albies. I'd probably give the nod to Ozzy Albies a little bit just because he's disgusting defensively at second base. He's shown through the years, or at least through the few years that he's played thus far, that he can play at a very high level. And he only got better last year, and I think he's going to continue to get better. I think I give him the slight nod over Ketel Marte, who had a breakout season, but again, they're very close. Brandon Lau at 5, a little bit high, but again, I can see why you would have him in the top 10. Keston Hiura definitely needs to be in the top 10. The dude absolutely rakes at the plate. He showed that last year, just defensively weak. Moustakas, Kevin Biggio, Colton Wong, Luis Arraez. Overall, though, not a crazy list. Like, besides the whole Ketel Marte at 1, I don't have a huge problem with these rankings. Probably one of the better ones. All right, we got right field now. Probably the most stacked position in all of baseball. This was obviously done before the whole Mookie Betts trade, because that's going to change some things. But right now, they got Mookie Betts at 1, and I agree, that's exactly where I had him. Yelich at 2, Judge 3, Acuna 4, JD Martinez 5, Harper 6, Soler 7. Okay, let's talk about that in a second. Gallo 8, Conforto 9, Castellanos 10. So I think that top 3 right now, if you're not including Cody Bellinger as a right fielder, that's pretty much spot on. Or I should say top 4, because that's pretty much in line with what I had. I had Cody Bellinger at 2, so that bumped the other guys down. But that top 4 or my top 5 is right on the money. JD Martinez going ahead of Bryce Harper, I just can't do that, especially because JD1 isn't a right fielder. He's a DH. I wish they didn't include DHs in this, but they did. Even then, I still think Bryce Harper's a better player than JD Martinez, so I'd put him ahead of him. He actually had a pretty disgusting year last year and was much better in the outfield defensively, so you need to give the guy some credit. As much as I want to rip on him, he played well. Jorge Soler at 7 is insane. He had a breakout season last year as a DH, but have you seen him go into the outfield? I don't know if he can catch a fly ball. He's horrendous out there. He cannot be a top 10 right fielder ahead of some of the guys like Joey Gallo, like Michael Conforto, like Nick Castellanos, who have all hit more consistently throughout their career, actually play a position in the field, and are pretty decent at it as well. I mean, Nick Castellanos not so much. So I don't like Jorge Soler at number 7. I wish they did the DH category completely separate, because it's going to screw up a lot of the rankings. But even if you do include the DHs in a position, Jorge Soler is not 7th in right field. Loaded position. Where's Max Kepler? He's really good. You're going to put Jorge Soler ahead of Max Kepler? No shot. Even Charlie Blackmon, like, where's the Charlie Blackmon love? All the guy does is hit. Now, I know defensively he's not great, but he should be in this top 10, not Jorge Soler. Right field list. Man, I mean, like, it's not terrible, actually, but they included the DHs on there a little bit too high, in my opinion. If you're going to sneak Soler and JD Martinez in there, maybe towards the bottom of it. First base now. Big hitting position, of course. Defense not as important. Freddie Freeman 1, Muncy 2, Alonso 3, Rizzo 4, Goldschmidt 5, Olsen 6, Luke Voit 7, Carlos Santana 8, Josh Bell 9, and Edwin Encarnacion 10. Freddie Freeman, number 1, definitely the right choice. Couldn't agree more. Max Muncy at 2. I think Max Muncy is fantastic. He's definitely in the top 5 for me. I just don't know if he goes at number 2, because that's where I have Anthony Rizzo, who plays great defense at first base, hits 30 homers, 30 doubles, close to 100 RBIs. You know what you're getting every single season out of him. You're getting a fantastic player, and he's done it for a bunch of years. I think he's got to be number 2. Alonso at 3. As much as I like it, I still probably put Max Muncy a little bit ahead of him. I'd probably put Paul Goldschmidt a little bit ahead of him too, just based on what we have seen him do. I'm a big fan of Pete Alonso, obviously, as a Mets fan, but I just don't know if he's number 3 just yet. Matt Olson as well, fantastic. If he played a full season last year, he was probably hitting 50 homers with playing some of the best defense that you can see at first base. I'm glad he's getting some love. I would put him maybe a little bit higher as well, but first base is a little bit loaded at the top, and then it gets a little weaker. Luke Voit at 7, not yet. I put him right around that 10 range, but I don't think he's number 7 just yet. Like, Carlos Santana had a fantastic year last year. I think he's a much better first baseman. Same thing with Josh Bell. Edwin Encarnacion, not so much. Where is Jose Abreu, who is a better first baseman than Edwin Encarnacion, who's on the same team as him? How are you going to put Encarnacion but not Jose Abreu? That one bothers me a bit. But the big one that's being left off here, Jose Abreu. Like, look at his numbers. All he does is hit. Another guy, 30 plus homers, 30 plus doubles, 100 plus RBIs. OPS hovering around that 850, 900 range. Down to the final 2 positions here, we got center field, and thank goodness at number 1 they have Mike Trout. Otherwise, I would have ended the video. That would have been it. We would have been done. If you're counting Cody Bellinger as a center fielder, he's definitely number 2, so they're off to a hot start. George Springer 3, agreed. Ramon Laureano 4, I think that's a very appropriate spot for him. He's definitely close to that top 5 range. Whit Merrifield's considered a center fielder in this video. If he was considered a center fielder in mine, he would definitely be inside the top 10. Starling Marte at 6, again, I think it's pretty much in the right vicinity. Lorenzo Cain 7, Aaron Hicks 8, Brandon Nimmo 9, and Brett Gardner 10. The last 2 I kind of have a problem with. I don't think Brandon Nimmo's a top 10 guy just yet. I think he can be, but defensively out in center field, he's not very good. He has a bit of a weak arm, and I don't think his range is there. I think he fits obviously much better in the corners, and we need to see him be a little bit more healthy and have a consistent season. Brett Gardner at 10 is absolutely ridiculous. Again, top 10 right now. Do we understand how that works? You're taking a guy who's like, what, 35, 36 years old, coming off the best season of his career by far, and you think he's going to be able to put up top 10 center field numbers again? There's just no way. He has a horrible arm in the outfield. He can get to some balls, but again, he's getting older. Brett Gardner is not a top 10 center fielder in the game, without a doubt. And now we're on the final position, which is left field, which is probably the weakest position in all of baseball. Juan Soto, number 1, Michael Brantley 2, Brian Reynolds 3, Tommy Pham 4, Canna 5, Meadows 6, Peterson 7, Schwarber 8, Peralta 9, Stanton 10. Juan Soto, clear number 1. That's obvious. Michael Brantley, I think, is also the clear number 2, so the top 2 is pretty solid. No love for Marcell Ozuna, which I found shocking. Yes, he had a down year, but he is still a top 10 left fielder in the game. If you don't necessarily have to agree that he's in the top 5, but he's definitely top 10, and he's not even featured on this list. Eddie Rosario, where's the love for Eddie Rosario? Another very solid player who I had inside my top 5, not listed here. I'm glad Brian Reynolds is getting some love. I'm huge on this guy. I think he's going to be a very solid player for the Pirates for a long time come. Tommy Pham's a stud. Mark Canha higher than I would like, but I could see him being hovering around that top 10 area. Meadows is a beast. Jock Peterson is very good, but again, where's Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario? That's the biggest omissions on this list. Like, those guys need to be at least included in here. Maybe you don't agree with my spot, but they're top 10. And I know I don't like the DH being included in here, but I think if Stanton does play left field, he's definitely a top 10 left fielder in the game. It's just a matter of what his mobility is going to come down to, but for the most part, this list is okay. It includes a lot of the guys that were in similar spots for me, but you missed 2 clear top 5 left fielders in the game in Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario. I don't know how they don't even make this list at all. We see that I definitely had some disagreements. I would love to know what you guys think about their list down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with their list? Or do you disagree with both of us? Let me know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, as well as subscribe to the channel if you're new and you enjoy the content. Trying to hit 150K before opening day. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description. Always talking baseball over there. And that's pretty much going to wrap up today's video. Remember, if you want to see me react to the top 100 list, drop a like, 3,500 likes. What'd I say? 3,000 likes and I'll make the video? Whatever. Leave a like. But yeah, gonna wrap up today's video. You guys know the drill. YouTube recommends you watch this video right here, as well as this is my most recent upload. So click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I do appreciate you, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for another video. Bye.